32 miles southeast of Little Rock, along Interstate 530, is a young city bursting with volunteerism, capital improvement, and community pride. The city of Whitehall, Arkansas is called home by about 5,500 residents who enjoy an exemplary school system, a safe environment to raise a family, and an overwhelming sense of community involvement. Although the city of Whitehall was incorporated in 1964, the community was settled in the late 1800s.
About the 1880s or 1890s, Whitehall was a stopping point before settlers came into Jefferson County. Were going to Pine Bluff, and what they would do, they would stop and camp at a place called Crenshaw Springs. It was a clear water springs that the settlers and the early travelers could access and could drink out of before they got into Jefferson County.
The spring was thought to have medicinal powers, and many of the travelers stopped here to take advantage of its provisions. Settlers soon built what would become the namesake of the community, a Whitehall.
Probably about the 1880s, there was a church constructed.
Since paint was not readily available, the building was whitewashed, a process involving slaked lime and chalk, which gave the building a white finish.
And to identify the area or to give directions, they would say it's near the White Hall. Eventually, that building that was called the White Hall would develop into the Whitehall Methodist Church.
The White Hall served as a community multi-use facility, housing church services across several denominations and serving as a community school. In 1884, residents of the community petitioned to combine sections of school districts number 2 and number 5 to create a school district for the Whitehall area. This became school district number 27, as it remains today. The first designated school building was built around 1898 near the location of the current Whitehall Middle School. The community of Whitehall expanded around Crenshaw Springs, but didn't see substantial growth until the establishment of the first paved road in Arkansas, Dollarway Road, named for its estimated cost of $1.36 per linear foot, was completed in 1913 and stretched from Pine Bluff to Little Rock, running right through the heart of Whitehall. At nearly 23 miles long, it was the longest paved road in the United States at the time. Automobile enthusiasts shipped their vehicles from all over the U.S. by train just to traverse the roadway. The first example of concrete being used for road pavement and reinforced concrete being used for bridges in Arkansas. With the enhanced amount of traffic through Whitehall, more and more families began settling down in the small community, and as a result, in 1923, the Whitehall School District had its first graduating class. Prior to 1922, the Whitehall School, a 2-room wooden building, only taught pupils through the 10th grade. The 1921 through 1922 school year was the first to feature the 11th and 12th grades. Shortly after the installation of Dollarway Road, and with the growth of the Whitehall School District, the community of Whitehall began attracting prominent figures that worked in the surrounding areas. Aiming to escape the hustle and bustle of the city life of Pine Bluff, Ferdinand Bellingraf built what was to become one of Whitehall's most treasured landmarks, the Bellingraf House. It was added to the National Register of Historical Properties in 1994 for being an excellent example of the English Revival style of architecture in Whitehall. With battles raging in Europe and growing concern about American involvement in World War II, the United States Army was looking for a place to store munitions and wartime material. Just north of Pine Bluff and just east of Whitehall in Jefferson County, Arkansas, proved to be the perfect location. In November of 1941, construction began on the nearly 13,500-acre chemical warfare arsenal, later renamed the Pine Bluff Arsenal, which would grow to be one of the area's largest employers and bring an important influx of residents to the Whitehall community.
So it was the biggest arsenal, wartime munitions arsenal in Arkansas at that time, and it employed something like 10,000 personnel from the surrounding area, of which we can take a great deal of pride in this. The Pine Bluff Arsenal was the federal installation and the first munitions plant in this area to employ women. More than 3,000 of the labor force were women and minorities. African Americans worked at the Pine Bluff Arsenal, as did women.
The rush of workers to the area resulted in a housing shortage that had many new workers scrambling for a place to stay.
It was just a real chore to have a place to sleep. Folks slept in tents. They slept anywhere they could get. They worked different shifts and they slept in the same bed. You'd have one shift, one man sleeping, and as soon as he left and went to work, another man would get his bed.
With the population rising tremendously, Crenshaw Springs and the surrounding wells were no longer sufficient to provide water for all of the residents.
Because we had water here, there might be one well furnishing 15 people. And the water had so much iron in it that it had to be filtered out, or either turn your hair red in 3 weeks.
The community needed a water system.
We got the water system first in Whitehall by floating a bond issue, and we had a tax on our property of $50 a year to pay this bond issue off.
When creating the water district, the residents realized they could use the city water to help extinguish fires. In 1961, Whitehall residents formed the Whitehall Water and Fire Protection District No. 1. With community water purchased through a self-imposed tax, a volunteer fire department, and a sewer system on the way, the residents of Whitehall then had the resources to become an incorporated city and realized that they needed the state financial benefits that an incorporated city receives. An incorporation committee was formed, headed by W.F. Moody, or Jack as he was known. With the help of an attorney, Charles S. Goldberger, the committee discovered that in order to be considered for incorporation, they needed signatures from 20 qualified voters that lived within the proposed city limits. When the incorporation presented their petition to the Jefferson County judge, the number of signatures exceeded 300. On July 14, 1964, a hearing was held and the documents of incorporation were signed. Whitehall became the second largest city in Jefferson County. By October 29, 1964, residents of the new city had elected the members of the first city council and Whitehall's first mayor, Jack Moody. The first city council meeting lasted over 3.5 hours, during which the first city ordinance was drafted. City Ordinance No. 1. Mayor Moody appointed A.D. Hamilton as town marshal to police the new city. Once the basic city government was established, residents turned their focus toward community growth. City officials immediately began working on plans for a city park. June 1, 1966, land was acquired from Walter C. Hudson, Inc. in the middle of the city, and the clearing process was started. However, with a minimum city budget, Whitehall could not afford to have the park professionally cleared. That didn't stop anyone. Local businessmen, city council members, the Whitehall Lions Club, and even Mayor Moody devoted their spare time to cleaning up and clearing out a place that Whitehall residents could enjoy for many years to come. For a time after incorporation, the Whitehall Fire Department building held not only the fire trucks, but also City Hall. With the exponential growth of the new city, this quickly became inadequate. In June 1975, city officials moved into the brand new City Hall located at 101 Parkway overlooking the city park. The latter part of the 1970s saw Whitehall annex parts of the surrounding areas to accommodate the growth in population. The decade of the 1980s was a period of tremendous growth for the city of Whitehall. In August of 1980, Whitehall grades 10 through 12 moved into the newly built Whitehall High School, which earned awards for its architectural beauty and state-of-the-art technology. That same year, construction was started on the White Bluff Power Plant just north of the city. Although not inside the city limits, the new plant was located inside the Whitehall School District, which runs all the way to Redfield. The school district, in return, received millions of dollars in tax revenue and many new enrollees as workers began moving to the area. By 1981, Whitehall businessmen recognized that there was a great commercial potential in the small city, but it needed to market itself to bring in potential new business. On January 19, 1981, they formed the Whitehall Merchants Association and began working on highlighting Whitehall to bring commerce to the area.
It was pretty rough as far as business here. It's getting slack. Interest rate was getting high, and the merchants just organized to try to improve the area. I think it was about 13 merchants in Whitehall at that time, and of course all of them joined. We ran the Merchants Association for about 2 years.
In 1982, Whitehall incorporated a full-time police department. Mayor Moody appointed Perry Holland as the first police chief, and he started with 2 officers underneath him. On February 9, 1984, the Whitehall Merchants Association changed to the Whitehall Chamber of Commerce, and Jack Moody was elected president. 1984 proved to be a big year in Whitehall. In the city's 20th year of incorporation, businesses were popping up left and right, population levels continued to grow, and the school district was recognized on a national level. Whitehall High School was nominated as one of the top secondary schools in the United States. After a visit to see the schools in person, the selection committee awarded Whitehall High School the prestigious honor. As Whitehall's 20th anniversary was fast approaching, the Chamber of Commerce and the Whitehall Lions Club decided to restore Crenshaw Springs. A gazebo and landscaping was placed around the location of the spring. It has become a landmark in the Whitehall community. In the meantime, the Chamber of Commerce decided that the city needed a celebration.
Jack, at one meeting, said, "Boys, let's have a weenie roast in the park to show our appreciation to the citizens." We kept working on it, wanted to do what he asked. So, and it just blowed into a full-fledged celebration.
They came up with an idea for a Founders Day, an anniversary celebration held in the city park. A committee was formed and headed by John Terry, and they quickly set to work organizing the event. The committee scheduled a parade, booked the Cummins Prison Band, and the Southeast Arkansas Fiddlers Association for entertainment, and slated an array of contests and exhibitions from watermelon eating and tobacco spitting competitions to taekwondo performances. Governor Bill Clinton was even scheduled to make an appearance, awarding Whitehall School District Superintendent Julius Brown a plaque commemorating Whitehall High School's national recognition. The first Whitehall Founders Day was a success, and plans were immediately drawn up to make it an annual affair. In 1985, the Chamber of Commerce decided to erect an amphitheater in the city park to house entertainers and provide a main stage for the Founders Day celebrations for years to come. They poured the stage just in time for the second annual Founders Day in August of 1985. From the moment of incorporation, there was a developing controversy regarding a potential post office in Whitehall. The city's official spelling is a direct result of post office planning.
The name Whitehall, our city's name, has always been a little confusing in that there is another Whitehall located in northeast Arkansas. That Whitehall in northeast Arkansas is one word, and our community is 2 words. That has always helped distinguish us between the 2 cities when we're receiving mail and of course the zip codes as well.
With the name of the city being directly linked to having a post office in the future, residents of Whitehall were overjoyed with the idea of having their very own. It would establish themselves as a true, self-sufficient city in their eyes. But their excitement was short-lived.
But for years we were told no by the Postal Service because they would say that, well, you're close to Pine Bluff, you can get your mail and you can use the Pine Bluff facility. Well, there was always an issue for Whitehall residents because Whitehall residents were very proud to say they lived in Whitehall. but yet you would have to put down that you lived in your mailing address, you listed Pine Bluff, Arkansas. There was always a concern by city officials regarding businesses that may be located in Whitehall, Arkansas, but listed Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
But we'd had a lot of tax problems. So many companies like JCPenney and Sears and people like that you buy things through the mail from. Pine Bluff was getting that sales tax.
Mayor Jitters Morgan took it upon himself to make sure that Whitehall got its own post office. When his efforts to sway the United States Postal Service yielded no results, he appealed to a higher power.
In 1995, in August of 1995, they had a reception at Pine Bluff Convention Center for then President Bill Clinton. He was here for the Babe Ruth League World Series. We went through the line and I introduced myself as Jitters Morgan, the mayor of Whitehall, the largest city in the state of Arkansas that does not have a post office. And he looked at me and kind of grinned and went on. So I think that really had a whole lot to do with getting it started and rolling.
This time his voice was heard.
Actually, I got a letter one day from Washington, D.C., from the Postal Service there wanting to know, and the letter read, "Would you be interested in having a post office in your city?" I said, "Well, we've been trying to get a post office for 15 years, and he writes me a letter and wants to know if I'd be interested in." So yeah, that basically got the ball rolling.
Construction began on the Whitehall Post Office July 24, 1997. But Whitehall residents had more waiting to do. On October 12th, high winds collapsed the wooden frame of the building and halted construction. After more than 3 decades of waiting, the Whitehall Branch Post Office opened on July 21, 1998. Since its inception, residents of Whitehall have been passionate about preserving the history of the city and surrounding areas. When Carl and Essie Carter left their estate to the city of Whitehall in 1989, Mayor Tom Ashcraft and the City Council saw that the Carters' home, located on the property, would be a great venue to become a city museum. In 1990, the Whitehall Historical Society and Whitehall Museum Board were established to assist in museum preparations. The site included the museum, a small park, and a separate house for a caretaker. The museum soon acquired a caboose from the Cotton Belt Railroad, and in 1994, a short section of the original Dollarway Road was relocated to the museum grounds near the caboose.
The Carters left us their estate a little over 20 years ago. Their home served as a museum, and it served well for many, many years. But the home was old when we got it, and it continued to age. It limited those that had limited mobility, had trouble navigating through the home, and the home was in need of repair. So the City Council elected to build a new museum, and we have just completed the new museum, and we're very proud of the museum. It's very spacious, has an open floor plan, it's ADA accessible, and a lot of people have worked hard on the museum, both contractors and city employees. We've really built a fine facility around our Veterans Memorial and the grounds, and we have more to do down there. It's adjacent to our mini park, and we're going to build new picnic pavilions down there and continue to make improvements to the museum.
In 1997, Mayor Morgan and the City Council passed the advertising and promotion tax, collecting revenue from local restaurants and businesses. The tax money was used to promote the city of Whitehall to attract new businesses and families to the area. A large portion of the money collected laid the foundation for one of the most highly anticipated additions to the community, the Whitehall Recreation Complex, featuring the James Jitters Morgan Community Center and Crenshaw Springs Water Park. In 2014, Whitehall's 50th year of incorporation, the growth of commerce and community pride is undeniable. A sprawling recreation complex will be complete in early 2015. A brand new museum has been completed along with this documentary to help tell the city's story to future generations. The Founders Day celebration has been transferred into Founders Day Festival and changed to a 3-day event in late October. New businesses and families are joining the community by the week.
And I tell that story all the time that, I point right over my shoulder and say, well, I went to kindergarten right there. and having been here all my life and having seen the city grow, you know, the history of the city is just very, very important to me. If you're thinking about relocating or coming to our city from the city standpoint, our city is very proactive in public safety and police and fire services. We have a wonderful school district here where I think having a wonderful public education system and excellent public safety are two key economic development tools for our community, and I think that is why our community is as successful as it is.
Since Whitehall's inception in the late 1800s and its incorporation in 1964, there's been a great deal of history forged in this small community. These glimpses into the past combined with the new happenings of this day will help us to define our sense of quality of life. The triumphs and trials of past generations combined with the efforts of future generations will help us to maintain the quality of life for years to come.